with Faraz Shaukat.
Very good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios here in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me this morning is my guest, Mr. Naveen Dissanayake, the Minister of Plantation.
Good morning, Faraz.
Very good morning, Naveen, and thank you for being with us. Bandula isn't here this morning. He's off to Gaul. He's interviewing the dolphins and the whales, apparently.
Much better than being here, I think.
Tell me, Naveen, what about... before that, I want to ask you, your father's foundation.
Yes.
What are you doing? Are you doing something special this year?
Yes, I think my father's foundation is rightfully named after him.
Yeah.
The Government of the Sanayaka Foundation.
Right.
And we have been having a technical school.
Right.
And a language school in Norelia.
Right.
We educate about 120 students every year free of charge. And these are students for us who just fail to get into the university.
Okay.
Maybe by about 3 or 4 marks, just on the borderline cases.
Right.
Who are obviously very intelligent.
Yeah.
And who have the ability to learn and educate themselves and who have the potential. But unfortunately, the circumstances have not allowed them to get into university. So we give them this 1-year course in English and computer studies.
Right.
And which my father at that time, when he passed away, in 1994, felt that it was essential for young kids to have this knowledge in terms of computers, IT and all that, English especially. And even in 94 he espoused these ideas. The whole IT thing hadn't started yet.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we started that in a little way so that we can keep his legacy going. And we've about 15 batches now, nearly 1,500 students we've put out to society, and they're doing very well.
And then this year you're having a play?
That's right. We have a charity event every year to raise funds for the foundation, to maintain the school and to uplift it and make some investments in capital expenditure and things like that. So what we have this year is a play called Charita Attack by Wilson Janadasa, who's a very popular actor.
Yes, yeah.
And he plays all these 8 political characters. It's a bit like the Pusvedila show.
Right.
They take a lot of shots at the political system and the establishment.
Will you get into trouble for doing that?
No, I think it's Jahaparne government is more open and free, and you can have shots everywhere.
Right.
Provided that it's done in a very tasteful way.
Right.
So I think it's a good event for people to come and have a look.
Yes. So that's on Friday at 6:30 p.m. at the Bishop's College.
That's right. Yes. So I hope that your viewers can help us and contribute towards the foundation, and also plus have a very good, immensely joyful evening by watching it.
Tell me, Naveen, how old were you when your father passed away?
I was Faraz 24.
And Mantha would have been...
My brother would have been 20.
Right.
Yeah, 4 years younger to me.
How much do you miss him?
Oh, I think immensely. I can't really say that in words how much I miss him. It's just his presence and his personality, his dynamism, and just as a father, he was such a tremendous guy.
Did he have enough time?
Oh yes, he made a lot of time for us, although he was very busy with his political work. Always had time for us. We used to go and spend a lot of weekends together in Sri Lanka. He had that time for us, and always had the time to guide and educate us and tell us the way. But unfortunately, when we were just getting up in life, when we needed his support and his guidance, he was like a rock, like a person. He was taken out from us.
And you pretty focused on keeping the political legacy going?
Yeah, well, I got into it. I really did. When my father died and I was 24, I really didn't have my kind of life strategy worked out as such.
Okay. All right.
And so one thing led to another.
Right.
And I was just finished my law degree.
Right.
And then after he passed away, I did my law exams and got through my bar finals and all that. And then there was a lot of demand for me from my elect constituents in Kandy, and I got kind of pushed into it.
Right.
And I just, for 15 years, I've been doing it now.
Right.
So I suppose it's a bit like a drug. It's a bit of addiction. When I psychoanalyze myself or why I do it, it's a huge push. Once you're in it, you can't kind of get out of it.
But your wife is also from a political family.
Yes, she's actually the Speaker's daughter, Honorable Kharuja Surya's daughter. And she's...
How much of an influence has he been on you?
Well, he's been a very, very strong, solid, very stable influence on me, because I look upon him as a father figure, and he's really helped me a lot in my career.
So he really is this gentleman politician.
Yes, he is. I think the only so-called scar that he got was the fact that he, with 17 of us, joined the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa.
But he articulates that rather well. He says he did that to strengthen government during the war.
Well, that's why I also went with that group. In 2007. If he had not joined, definitely the government could have collapsed, and the war effort would have been jeopardized. But Mr. Jayasuriya is in a more stronger position than us. Because soon after the war finished, he went back to the opposition. Whereas we stayed. But then when the whole thing about the presidential election came, I and a few others, not many, a few others realized that there has to be change in this country, that we cannot go on like this, and we made that bold move.
What was it? What was preeminent amongst that? We can't go on like this. Like what?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I think the 18th Amendment was a game changer for Sri Lanka. Although you can just artificially look at it and kind of say, okay, it just allows the president to go for another term. Actually, what it did was it brought a culture of impunity. That meant that a particular leader, doesn't mean a Rajapaksa, can go on infinitely without any checks and balances. And when you have the whole family thing coming into it, it made it more odious and more ugly. And the whole, we knew the amount of corruption and things that were happening. And it could have just escalated, and I don't think Sri Lanka would have ever come back to any normalcy. What if you define normalcy? I don't know how you define it. Any normalcy that you and I know of.
But if we were to try and pinpoint a position when it started crumbling, what would you say? Would you say that the matter of the Chief Justice, Shirani Bandaranaike, was one point?
I think it was a series of events really for us that led to a lot of people kind of questioning themselves about their own role and their consciousness, because I think any regime, any kind of administration or government collapses from within. I really believe that. If you look at any situation, whether it's a democratic setup or a non-democratic setup, the people inside have to first change and cause the cracks. So there has to be a lot of soul searching and internal soul searching in that own setup. So I think starting from when the war finished, even before the war finished, this Lasantha's assassination, and then a series of attacks on journalists. Then, of course, after the presidential victory, so many things happened. Things like the 18th Amendment, then Chief Justice's issue, just the brutality of the ugliness of the whole thing, of how it was orchestrated. There was no grace at all in it.
Indeed,
it was such a crude way of doing things.
And also I think the public will forever be ashamed when they remember the photographs released of at that time General Fonseca in his prison garb, and on very sort of very
flimsy grounds,
very
flimsy grounds.
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole thing about Fonseca being taken in, Field Marshal Fonseca being taken in, was a politically vindictive move.
Yeah.
So the Rajapaksas have no right to talk about political vindictiveness now.
Yeah.
When they did that when they were in power.
Yeah.
But I just want to emphasize that the middle classes and the upper middle classes, the elites and the professionals and the educated class in this country started moving away from the Rajapaksas. I think even in 2010 they were not with they saw
there was a
where it
message
going.
there.
But what really made the change was the 18th Amendment. Corruption, I think, was really getting into the system to people when they saw all this wealth being very brazenly displayed. I think that really got to people, and when the president called for elections, the cracks inside the government came out. People like Patali, Rajitha, all these people, Athurali Ratana, they were basically the intellectual foundations of the government, of the Sinhala Buddhist system, the Sinhala Buddhist vote that Mahinda Rajapaksa banked on. So once that was broken, and once it started to break, then people started to look at new options, and with also Maithripala Sirisena coming in as a candidate, I think it really helped the cause, because he was always looking at his character and his so-called charisma to win the election, which he had. I mean, there was no doubt about that. But then when you brought in a figure who was from within the own system, and you used him like a catalyst for change, I think it's like the system a bit like Philippines, how Ramos came out against Marcos. Ramos was very much part of the system, and for 20-25 years he was with Marcos. But then you have a figure coming in from within the system, it causes the cracks, and it can be a game changer. And I think that's what happened here.
And do you see an element of truth in what the former president says, that he's that his family are being subject to political victimization?
No, I mean, it's easy to say that. Because I mean, where is the objectivity in a situation like this? I can say that because I went through a period of political victimization. Mainly with my dad when he left the UMP, when he had these cases against him. The Bulgens case, there was a case that he lifted Ralph Bulgens. I don't know whether you can remember all that.
Yes.
I don't know how young you were at that time.
I've read about that.
So I know that I personally have experienced it.
Right.
Now that was political victimization.
Right.
Here you have a case where the FCID had really over the last one year from the time that the regime changed, looked at the CSN issue. Now I want to explain this CSN issue because I was, as a former sports minister, very much part of the whole process. Because CSN was given broadcasting rights from the cricket board, which came under me, by Nishanta Ranatunga. Calling a meeting, and Nishanta put it to the board approved it, and Nishanta left the room. But he engineered the whole thing. So we all know that. So I know a lot about the CSN, how it was set up and all that, and there are very clear violations of the exchange control law of this country.
I actually wrote about this in the Independent just last week. In which it was astonishing that 4 days after the company was formed,
200 million.
They entered into an agreement with some unknown Singaporean company. And when the head of marketing raised the question about that these are the gaps, and that they should ask for a bank guarantee, there was no bank guarantee forthcoming, but nevertheless it had been entered into. Fortunately, the Sri Lankan IPL never got going, so that there wasn't a monetary thing. But it's astonishing that 4 days after registration, and even when their transmitters weren't in place,
Yeah.
that they were able to secure such lucrative contracts.
Yes. Well, I think that's just one aspect of it. If you look at the exchange control violations,
That's right.
that's also tremendous. I mean, you have something like 400 million rupees coming in
That's
to
right.
their accounts. And when questioned about from where the source of funds came
Yeah.
from, as you know, these days with very strict anti-money laundering laws in place,
Yeah.
and the financial authorities being very overtly concerned about money laundering,
Yeah.
and the source of of income is very important. You know,
Yes,
you can have money. There's no question about that.
Indeed.
But you have to justify where you got it from.
Indeed.
And I think when Mr. Yoshita Rajapaksa was questioned, and when all the others were questioned, they basically did not have answers where these funds came from.
To find out a bit more about this and other matters, join us back after this short commercial break.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukut-Ali.
Welcome back to Newsline, and this morning my guest is Mr. Navin Dissanayake, the Minister of Plantations. So that's very interesting, and we also note that in the matter of CSN, but the former president, he says a lot of things, but what he hasn't said is he hasn't commented whatsoever on the very serious charges that have been made. I think was one member of parliament who said that the police have, the FCID have reported facts to court over 40 times on this matter, and so the suggestion is that they have been rather meticulous in their deal.
Yeah. I basically think that the FCID has really looked into this thoroughly. The investigation was very thorough.
Yeah.
And they have the material to on the balance of probabilities.
Yeah.
That that's a standard for civil cases.
Yes.
Like this. They have the material to go and put a case against Mr. Rajapaksa.
Yeah.
So they will have to now fight it out in courts.
Right.
So it is just an initial process.
Indeed.
It doesn't mean that Yoshita Rajapaksa is wrong. It doesn't mean that he's guilty.
That's right.
You know,
right.
the court process happens.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how even my father,
Yeah.
when Mr. Premadasa put that case against him,
Yeah.
he had to fight it out in courts.
Indeed.
So thank God at that time there was a very independent judge in that case.
And in a perverse sort of way,
Yes, that's right.
the Rajapaksas are also pretty lucky that
we are in power because
you're in power because you've now re-established.
Exactly. Because I think the judiciary is much more independent than what the Rajapaksas had. So I think it's a bit of a dichotomy in that way. I mean, you have the legal process going on. I know the president and the prime minister did not have any hand in influencing this process at all. They have allowed actually a very free process in determining the pros and the merits of putting a case. And I think the system has turned turned the wheels by itself and gone forward in that way.
The questions are coming in thick and fast. One of them,
Yeah.
how did our mayor give so much of government land to CSN?
Which mayor was that?
I suppose the viewers talking to about Mr. Muzammil probably.
I can't comment on that for us because
Because you
I'm
don't know?
not aware of the land issue on the
Okay.
CSN thing.
Another one, as a person who with ambition of leading Sri Lanka, do you have, what are your ambitions, political ambitions?
No, well, again, I'm being very honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never said this on TV before.
Yeah.
But I worked with two very ambitious people in my life, and that's Mr. Athurat Mudali, who I worked with very closely as a young boy, when the UNF was formed, and my dad.
Yeah.
So circumstances in Sri Lanka create their own volition. So you can't really say, okay, I want to be the prime minister at this age, or I want to be the president at this age. But I am in a situation where I'm pretty still relatively young in political terms, and I am in I've got a very good ministerial portfolio. So I would take it one step at a time and see where my fate would lead me. I'm not really, I won't be disappointed if I don't become the prime minister or the president. But just like everybody else, so many young leaders in both parties now, I mean, so I'll go along on this race and see where I end up.
And are you sort of emboldened or happy that you've got Martha with you as well?
Again, it's I'm very happy as a brother that he's in Parliament with me. But I think my generation of Sri Lankans, including yourself, we would always want to be measured and valued by our own character and our own personalities and our own abilities. So in terms of family politics, he would have his own journey and I would have my own journey. But certainly, as far as sons of a very famous father, we would make certain that the vision that he had, with a very liberal and democratic view and a vision of things, that we would always maintain that and keep that vision going. Because even with or without power, you must have a set of core principles to work with.
Another question here. Please ask the Minister what his take on the central bank bond issue is.
Yes, I know that you are very outspoken in this whole issue for us.
Yes.
And I basically think there's something happened, and I think there was evidence to share that there was prior knowledge on it. I haven't really seen the report that was issued by this committee.
Yes.
But I'm again being very open about it. I felt there should be more probity on it, and certainly more information should have been given to the public. I feel that enough has not been done to allay any doubt that the people have on this issue. But as a minister who is also in the government and who has collective responsibility, I'm happy that the Prime Minister made an inquiry on this and made a probe on it. And I think the events will also bring about a situation where perhaps we can get more information that the people require to make a judgment on it. As of now, I'm open about it. I'm not saying that something really wrong happened, but I'm also not saying that really everything was done rightly.
Yes, I'm of course very happy that Field Marshal Fonseca had been given some form of recognition, some real recognition, not merely a title like Field Marshal and so on. But in that whole process, I'm a bit concerned, and I do want to ask the Field Marshal when he comes on our program as to what his stance will be. I'm sure it won't change, but he did call for a full inquiry into the bond matter. Tell me, you're here as the Minister of Plantations. We're going on about everything else except in that. What about this intervention in the auctions to stabilize the tea prices?
Well, when I took over in September, the prices were at 360, 370 odd, round about that range. Then in October, November, December, it went up to about 410. It went up to 420, which I thought was pretty good, given the circumstances which we took over. Now it's gone back to about 411, the tea prices. We have got this mandate again. I must thank the Prime Minister for it. He was very quick on the whole thing, and he realized the value of intervention, although I know he's a free economist and a liberal thinker. He understood that we need some kind of state intervention. Theoretically, although a lot of economists might not agree with that, we have seen how governments intervene to stabilize prices. So when I asked him about this, he said immediately to put the cabinet paper, and then we have got $10 million now, 1 billion rupees,
Right.
To intervene in the market when we feel it's necessary to do so.
Right.
So we have got a panel in the T-board now, and they are basically experts of the auctions and the auction system, who are advising us whether we should intervene or not. So we will only intervene if it really gets very bad for us. So at the moment,
So at least you have the mechanism in place.
we have the mechanism in place, and we'll just watch the situation and see if it gets further better or worse.
And the moving on to the rubber sector, you make. I know that falling world prices and so on, and the petroleum prices is impacted. But what about the smallholders?
Petroleum prices and the rubber prices are sadly interlinked. We see that happening all the time. So the petroleum prices are like $29, $30 a barrel. So the prices of rubber has also come down. That has kind of affected the smallholders in a very bad way. I think the tapping has kind of stopped, more or less stopped now. We are helping the smallholders through a subsidy. That is a subsidy on fertilizer.
Right.
So that is going through, and we are spending close to again $1 billion on it.
On that.
On that. I have to say this on the whole thing about rubber. When now we are in a very strong position as a producer on tea.
Yeah.
So when the idea of blending comes up, the producers mainly, they are very agitated and they don't want the blending to happen.
Yeah.
On rubber, it's a bit different. On rubber, because we have over a continuous period of time, 20 to 30 years, we have weakened ourselves as a producer. The idea of a hub is more positively embraced. So I really see a lot of potential for Sri Lanka as a rubber hub. Where we have a zone and where raw rubber is bought in, where it is turned into a value-added product, which is already happening. Like Sri Lanka is one of the largest exporter of rubber tires in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these things people don't know.
Right.
Where huge effort is done on the rubber, on manufacturing of rubber tires.
And also gloves.
Gloves is also the industrial and the surgical gloves that's happening in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So at the moment, our rubber production is not enough to keep up to the export demand. So we import it and they add value to it here and export it again. So I think in that way we have a very large potential as a rubber hub, to promote Sri Lanka as a rubber hub.
And the blending issue, you all have put it on hold for the moment?
I am very open about it.
Yeah.
And as you know, you mentioned some names.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention their names, it's not right.
Yeah.
Very strong leaders of the industry who are against it.
Yeah.
And there are some very strong leaders of the industry for it.
Yeah.
So I will have to, with the Prime Minister and other stakeholders and people who are, because it's a huge area, it's the smallholders. Now, I want to mention one fact.
Yeah.
When during the colonial era, that the rubber, the tea production was in the estates.
Yeah.
Perhaps until early 70s, it was the case. Now it's a smallholder.
Right.
73% of our tea production is coming from the smallholder.
That's good news, isn't it?
That's good news. It's a huge revolution that has happened. A silent revolution, because the economic power has gone to the smallholder now.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Navin Disanayake, thank you very much for having been on Newsline with us this morning. And just to remind you that the Gamini Disanayake Foundation are having a charity event on Friday at 6:30, Charita Attack, and that is at the Bishop's College Auditorium. Try and make it. In the meantime, thank you for watching Newsline. Take care and God bless.